All right, let's talk Hasson Reddick. I think this is an interesting discussion. Did Hasson Reddick choke in Super Bowl 57? He is someone who was dominant in the postseason in the first two games the Eagles played. Didn't do a lot in this one. I've already made some videos detailing what the Chiefs did so well to protect Mahomes, but let's just talk Reddick himself, the game he had, and the positives and negatives that came along with it. I definitely think one issue that he dealt with is just trying to tackle Mahomes is hard, right? Trying to get Mahomes to the ground, very difficult thing to do. One of the best quarterbacks, if not the best quarterback in the NFL at avoiding sacks, and we saw that here, where you see where Reddick is on the field. It's going to be kind of a play action, and to be honest, I'm not sure exactly what the Chiefs were trying to do here, because look at how when the play begins. Okay, no one picks him up, none of the tight ends pick him up, but it seemed like the halfback here was also surprised, which, again, sometimes you leave an edge rusher unblocked when you have one of these play action rollout type things, but usually you leave the player unblocked, but then you have a play action to the other side of the field trying to get them to go in that direction. This time the play action was towards the right, so I don't know what they were thinking here. Maybe they thought he would just kind of get himself out of position, and Mahomes, I don't know. I really don't know. I think there was a mistake. I think someone was supposed to block him. But regardless, okay, a halfback does pick this up at this point and kind of says, okay, let me create some contact. Look, he gets Reddick a little bit out of position. Reddick is starting to fall over, but still, he's in position where he could potentially, do something to Mahomes, right? If not completely tackle him, at least disrupt him enough. And he's going to disrupt him a little bit. But look, as you see, Mahomes is able to evade it and still flip the ball to be incomplete. But still, I do kind of wonder, does the narrative change a little bit if Mahomes doesn't make that great move to avoid Reddick and still get the ball out of his hands? If he instead gets sacked, well, then Reddick has a sack, and then maybe just the narrative changes a little bit, even though this ended up leading to a missed field goal, which I assume would still have been missed if it was 4 yards further back. So don't think it changed the game, but could have maybe changed a narrative. And I have to say, I still thought that there were some moments where Reddick, he got a lot of attention and sometimes still made the most of it. Like on this play, you're going to have a tight end who's going to chip him on this one. So you're going to have extra attention. Watch, tight end runs, does a good job of pushing him out of the way. You now have Reddick on Wiley. Reddick starts to go to the inside. Mahomes now going to try to get to the outside, which again, this is dangerous. Trying to make an inside move is always difficult against Mahomes because he is so good at getting outside the pocket, even with a hurt ankle. This is something he is capable of doing. Watch how when Reddick turns the corner, though, he's able to, run down Mahomes. Mahomes was not able to make a throw. That's a really good hustle play by Reddick. So you think about getting extra attention, tried for an inside move, and Mahomes went to the outside very quickly, but Reddick did not allow Mahomes to have a ton of time there. This was not one of those plays where Mahomes could just sit there until someone got open. So really good stuff, I would say, from Reddick, of being able to get back into a play that felt like it was destined for disaster. That being said, going over here, there were some plays like this that were just kind of like, I don't know, this is the big thing I saw when watching Reddick is, again, extra attention, right? Two players are blocking him. You have a tight end who, again, tight end's not going to block him the whole play. He's going to start off blocking Reddick and then run a route. And watch how good of a job he does. Maybe you could argue Reddick should have won it a little bit easier. It is the tight end. Ask San Francisco how he can win those matchups pretty consistently. But you also see he falls down now on the turf, or I keep calling it turf, but on the grass, where he, is not able to, he loses his footing. This is something that affected a lot of players in this one. It really affected Reddick. I mean, when he tried to use his speed, it was just difficult. And at this point, what are you supposed to do? You have a good blocking tight end come in and chip you. You're now, you've slipped on the grass. There wasn't a lot you could do at this point, and now it's going to be really difficult to impact the play. In fact, it's just going to be impossible. Look, Mahomes gets rid of the football before Reddick even stands up, so this is kind of a lot of what I saw is things kind of outside of his control affecting him. The grass was affecting him, can't control that, just an unfortunate break for him. Also, the Chiefs were paying him extra attention. They were not going to just leave Wiley on him one-on-one. Now, they did. There were opportunities when they did, but this is a good example, I think, of kind of one of the issues that happened with Reddick. And again, I may be making a bit of excuses for him. I'm not saying that there weren't times when he had opportunities to make plays, and maybe you could argue that, listen, if you're going to be a star player for this team, you do have to show up a little bit more in the Super Bowl. You could make that argument. I don't know if I would, though, because again, okay, what do you do in this spot? You were getting chipped a lot, but hey, now you're not. Or at least it'd be surprising if you were, because there's, right tackle one-on-one against you. That's what it looks like. There's no other player who could be blocking on that side of the field. So unless, the halfback pulls over and blocks you that way, which you don't really do, seems like it's a one-on-one matchup. So what do? I mean, typically, Reddick will use his speed. He'll try to use his speed to try to get around the corner and get to Mahomes that way. That's what he typically wants to do. But in this situation, I think he doesn't trust his footwork with this kind of grass. He doesn't want to have to deal with that. So instead, he's going to try to use his power, which he can do, but that's not really what makes him special, I would say. Watch out, that's what he's going to do. He's going to kind of just try to see if he can overpower Wiley here, which I understand the logic behind. I understand why he tried this a couple times, but just not really going to work. Watch as Wiley does, a good job. And again, if there was 5 seconds, maybe there's a pressure there, but you don't get 5 seconds in these situations. Good job by Wiley. Wiley had a good game. You got to give him credit. But also, I think it's fair to say that this was not the ideal conditions for Reddick to succeed, which, as Jason Kelsey said, hey, it's football. Part of the beauty of football is you play on the field you play on, and it's not always going to be perfect conditions. And, if it rains, you play. If it snows, you play. If the grass isn't very good quality, then you play. It is what it is, and you got to find ways to have success throughout. But I would also, say I'm not going to blame him too much for not having his best day, even if I will also acknowledge that there's no asterisks or anything. This is still a football game. One last play. Now, it might be unfair to criticize him when I'm talking about a coverage play. I mean, you could argue, hey, he used to be an off-ball linebacker when the Cardinals thought that would work for some weird reason. That's what he has played as an off-ball linebacker before, so maybe it's fair to say that you should be able to do something okay. But you know what? If this was a coverage error with him in coverage, I wouldn't be talking about it. I'd be saying, whatever, you're not supposed to play coverage here. You're supposed to, you're supposed to rush the passer. You're kind of just doing this as like a bit of a surprise. Watch, Reddick drops back into coverage. You're going to see that Mahomes scrambles out in this area. And this is something where I think it's fair to say, though, that he misplays this. He's not sure if he should stay back in coverage or if he should rush Mahomes. So as you see, kind of stays back in coverage. By the time he realizes Mahomes is scrambling, is not able to get over there and make a play. It's a tough spot, though, because, again, this isn't something I can't say it's not something he's used to, because he is. He's played this position before, but just not something that he's good at. It's not what he is. You don't have him to be a good coverage off-ball linebacker. That's just not his value. Sure, it's good that he has some experience there, so you can surprise teams and have him do it a little bit, but I'm not going to blame him too much. So I think kind of my main takeaway from this game is there are negatives on tape. Like, for sure, there are negatives on tape. You can watch it and say, yeah, that was an issue. But it's kind of one of those understandable negative performances. Like, I kind of, if I knew these situations would be the case heading into the Super Bowl, I would have kind of projected that he would have a rough day, right? Or at least at least I would have considered that he could have a rough day and thought about that might be a potential issue. Just tough that, when one of your strengths kind of gets taken away. I think the all-time greats still find a way to have success. But, I don't know if I would call Reddick an all-time great. Like, he's been had a very good year for the Eagles. But, it's just tough, and he is someone who I think Eagles fans are very happy with. Just didn't have his best day, but I get why he didn't. I really do. So is this a choke? To me, it's a resounding no. This was not a choke. This was a disappointing performance, but understandable given the circumstances. I don't know. To me, it's almost like the equivalent of when a player gets banged up but plays through an injury and then doesn't play too well. It's like, that's not a choke either. That's just you didn't play as well as you would have liked to play, but you couldn't given the situation. It's a little bit similar there with, again, the conditions, but also just the way that the Chiefs, attacked against him by having a lot of extra guys blocking and things like that. The combination of those two is what really kept him off the stat sheet too much. But yeah, that's what I think. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments below. Always love hearing from you. And of course, as always, thanks for watching.